Hello and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn. Now in the last video I spoke about pronunciation, what is pronunciation and what are the features of bands 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 in the IELTS speaking exam. And so in this video I'm going to analyse a candidate's pronunciation. I haven't seen this video, this is the first time I'm watching it, but I can see that the candidate got us an overall score of 6.5, but we know not all of these scores are always perfectly reliable, but I'm only going to focus on pronunciation, not fluency and coherence, not grammar, not vocabulary, only focusing on pronunciation, trying to activate some of that information that we saw in my last video. If you haven't seen the video that I made on pronunciation, then I recommend watching that one first, so you'll have a better idea to see what I'm looking for. Anyway, let's jump straight in here. Nice intro. So this is
Good morning.
the YouTube channel this video is featured on is called IELTS Board Members Academy. IELTS Board Members Academy. So if you don't like watching a video where there are lots of pauses and commentary, feel free to check out the video first of all. The video is called IELTS Speaking Test Band Score 6.5. I'm sure you can find it.
Good morning. This is the speaking section of the IELTS exam, and the interview will take around 15 minutes. I'll ask you some questions in 3 parts, okay?
So the examiner's pronunciation, she has an accent. Her pronunciation is pretty good, but I will try not to comment on the examiner's pronunciation.
Yes. So examiner is Sarah Parker, and examiner number is 792021. Candidate is Kate Wilson, and candidate number is 2.
Okay, so I like that they're going through the script, the official instructions and introduction and things like this. It gives the candidate a real authentic experience of what a real IELTS speaking test is like. Cool.
3589. Well, happy to see you again. I hope you made some progresses.
My pleasure to see you again.
Okay.
The response feels a little bit unnatural. Also, pleasure, mispronunciation with the L immediately noticeable.
I hope so.
What's your full name?
My full name is Kate Wilson.
May I see your ID card?
Sure, here you are.
Thank you. All right. Here we go.
Thank you.
Can you tell me, do you work or study?
Nowadays, I'm working as a supervisor of a sales department and a business company.
So chunking is okay here. The speaking isn't too mechanical.
And my job is full-time.
Do you like taking pictures?
So this L in full-time, it's not always pronounced. Certainly in London, for example, full-time. That L isn't always pronounced, but for time, it sounds...
Of course, as I'm into record and...
Some attempt at intonation there, of course, with the higher pitch. So an attempt at intonation doesn't feel very natural, but it's an attempt.
Any moment that make me feel special or something. Taking picture is one of my favorite hobbies. So yes, I really like to take pictures.
Do you like taking selfies?
Actually, no, because I really...
Again, she's having problems with that one phoning with L. Actually, no. It's like I have to work a little bit hard to understand that she's saying actually.
I do not take a photo from near distance or too close because the atmosphere, the area around me is kind of important for me when I record a picture, when I
So I don't know about her sentence stress a little bit, like she's overstressing atmosphere, not the word atmosphere itself, but the way that she pronounces it in the sentence just feels a little unnatural. We'll look for more signs of this.
Want to take picture. I want to know that where am I and the more details. And
I want to know that where am I? Just, I don't know.
And the wider area, as in my picture.
Wider area, I think she said, but again, initially I hear voider, and then my brain has to think, from context, wider area. But this is an example of the examiner or the listener having to work to make effort to understand what the speaker is saying. So already we can probably say she's not going to get a 7, because already there are a few instances in part 1, right at the beginning of part 1, where I have to work hard. So already in my mind I'm thinking certainly not a 7, and so now we need to decide 4, 5 or 6.
Sure, and that is not possible when I take selfie. And on the
That is not possible when I take selfie. Maybe those words are okay. That's not possible when I take selfies. Yeah, maybe the sentence stress isn't so bad.
other hand, I believe that when I take picture from too close, it will
That L again, too close.
not very good, and it is better when the camera is
Problems with the word when we had that earlier with the wider.
be a little far from me when I take a picture and I am in it.
Okay. All right. What is your favorite family photo?
The New Year Eve, we had a special guest. Actually, my niece came to our house a few minutes before the New Year, and she asked us to sit together and take.
Yeah, asked us. It's not us, but she's saying us. She asked us, and again, not critical, but noticeable.
Take a photo. It was kind of special for me. Whenever I look at this photo, I see.
Yeah, so whenever I look at this photo,
The passion, the sympathy, and kind of not.
It should also say individual words, mispronunciation of individual words is something absolutely fine, even up to level 7. Up to level 7, we have mispronunciation of individual words. It's just how much does it affect how much we can understand the candidate. So the mispronunciation of whenever is certainly not a huge deal.
Nice feelings in that photo. Because of that, this photo is my favorite family photo.
Okay. Do you want to improve your photography skills?
Actually, yes. I was thinking recently about to read more about the photography skill techniques. And
Again, photography, not photography, but photography, but not a big deal. Fine.
And some special applications of photography, like Photoshop or in this.
So she has this thing which is quite common in Spanish speakers, this sound of before the S. So, Spain, a Spain. Soccer, a soccer. I think she said a special or something like that, which is distracting.
Design, because I believe that this art is kind of necessary in this world, and I
should say some positive things too. The grouping is very good, and the intonation is noticeable that she's making good attempts with intonation.
As I mentioned before, that I really like taking photos, and sometimes these photos we're getting very fantastic after.
I didn't get that. I could go back and replay it, but I won't go back and replay it. I will just say that there was a patch of language, a stretch of maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 words that I just didn't get.
Edit. So I am thinking these days about.
I am thinking, no, thinking instead of thinking. It's obvious what she means, not critical but noticeable.
Learning technically and academic about the photography.
Yeah, the vowel also learning, not learning. Learning. So again, noticeable but not critical.
Okay. Do you think photos are necessary in our life?
Examiner should say necessary, not necessary. Doesn't matter.
I think yes. Without photos, part of our memory get missed because we cannot remember something after a while. But photos, as well as
We cannot remember something after why? After a while or afterwards, or not sure.
Remind us that moment, that place. I believe that also remind the feeling of that moment. So I see photos as essential part of the life.
Essential. 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 So, yeah, I think she's pronouncing it in a phonological way or in a phonetic way where she's pronouncing the word as it's written instead of as it's usually spoken. Of course, many words in English are pronounced differently by different L1 users. We have a lot of variety, but essential seems to be a problem that comes from her first language.
Okay. Do you prefer to take pictures with your phone or camera?
To be honest, I prefer taking photo
I like that intonation. To be honest, it's really natural. Nice.
with camera because I believe that the quality of camera is very, very higher than the phone. But from the aspects of easiness and comfortability, photo is preferred. Phone is preferred. I'm sorry, phone is preferred because you have.
So I like when she apologized there, she threw in that I'm sorry, and the I'm sorry had a drop in the pitch. So that was very natural.
With yourself everywhere you can go. It is not too heavy, not very big, and it is really easier to take photo with phone.
Okay. So now I'll give you a cue card. You have 1 minute to take notes and think about it. Then you may talk around 2 minutes. Okay?
Okay.
So here you go.
I don't think those instructions were perfect, but okay, not important.
Thank you.
And you can take note here.
Okay, so notes on part 1. So at this stage, probably I know that her pronunciation isn't going to change much. I can, just from part 1, we see enough pronunciation patterns, kind of know what her level is with pronunciation. So the things that I will say is the positives. First of all, she makes a good attempt at intonation. She doesn't speak in a very mechanical, robotic way. There's quite a good rhythm to her speech. She chunks words together, she groups words together, very nice. So she doesn't pronounce each word individually like this, but she does group them together in a very nice, natural way. But there are so many problems with individual phonemes, the L, the W, and there are some noticeable cases of mispronounced individual words. And the important thing, or the two important things, firstly, there was a patch of language, so a stretch of language, 2, 3, 4 words in a row, where I thought, what is she saying? And secondly, the key question that that I, as an examiner, ask myself is, how hard do I have to work to understand her? And at the moment, I would say mostly she's okay. 60-70% is fine, but there is part of me that's thinking I have to work hard. I have to pay close attention to understand what she's saying. And that's why she's certainly not a 7. Right now I'm between 5 and 6. She's not a 4 because she has too much good intonation, too much good stress, good grouping and good rhythm. But now it's about how she maintains this for the rest of the test. Can she do this in the more difficult part 2 and part 3? Let's find out. Are they really not going to skip forward? I don't want to miss anything.
It's I think the most ridiculous rule that exists is the forbiddance of going out after midnight, and the essentiality of essentiality for shops to be closed after midnight.
Midnight. So aesthetically it sounds nice, it's just not very natural. Midnight.
I think this rule is do not have any base, and it is not fair, because I cannot go out after midnight, and for people who like the silence and peaceful of and peace of the night and peace of the after midnight.
The word night. I mean, she has almost a Britishness to it. Night, really open diphthong. I, midnight, night. It's a little bit exaggerated, but it's not bad. Pretty good.
During the law, it is a kind of limitation for them. And for most people who enjoy nightlife, it doesn't look logic to.
So very tiny thing in that doesn't look like, that she drops the N, doesn't. Oh, sorry, she drops the T. Doesn't look like. And this is a very natural part of connected speech. Actually, doesn't look like. I think it's called elision, where you elide the last letter. So that's high level stuff. Again, a lot of students do this type of stuff naturally. Pronunciation features often appear simply because it's more convenient for our mouth. So very often when students learn English, they naturally drop some of those letters too. But it's still noticeable and good.
To obey such rule, as well as I believe that this rule should not be practical and should not apply.
Okay. What rules should students follow at school?
The rules at school.
She has a bit of trouble with the R. You can see there's a bit of pain trying to get rules at school, and the U sound, rule, school. So a little bit of effort from the candidate to produce those sounds, so not full control.
It is obvious that in any educational department, including school, there should be some rules to guiding children and to.
Did she say guarding children? The word choice is quite strange. I think she means protecting children. Of course, we're not focusing on vocabulary here, but maybe the word choice is what confused me, but I thought maybe guarding, the word was a little bit confusing, but okay.
To make them obey those rules. They start.
Okay, obey. She says obey. It should be obey. Again, I want to stress that even candidates of 7.0 and even higher can make some mistakes with individual words, with word stress, of course, and obey, it's perfectly understandable as a word. They should obey those rules instead of they should obey those rules, right? So fine, noticeable, not critical.
their learning process from these rules. I think the most important rules that can be applying in schools is the starting time of the classes. That will teach the children punctuality and time management.
Yeah, time management. But again, fine. So I think as I continue here, I won't pick out any individually mispronounced words. We can already say for sure that, you know, many words are mispronounced, but generally it doesn't cause confusion. And for part 2, she's been okay. I haven't had to work as hard as I did in part 1. Let's see how she does in part 3. I guess this last question the examiner asked, I guess that was the rounding off question, and she'll get into part 3 right now, or maybe she's already jumped into part 3, not immediately obvious, but I think that was the question that ends part 2. Let's see.
It is kind of important rule in the school to make them be present at special time and on time in classes.
Well, are school rules good or bad, and why?
I believe that not all of the rules are running in schools are good, and of course not all of them are bad. I agree with some of the rules, but I have some criticism to some of the others. Some of the rules, like the essentiality of being present on time, I believe is a good. The form of clothing, uniform, putting on uniform is a kind of good rule, because it teaches them being organized. And I believe that eating breakfast should...
Yeah, again, many features of her pronunciation are exaggerated, like breakfast, breakfast. The most common sound in the whole of the English language is our schwa, our sound, Almost all unstressed vowels in English are schwas. So organized, organized. Main stress on the first syllable, no stress on the second syllable, and small stress on the last syllable. Organized. But she doesn't get that and throughout the exam I think maybe she's missed a lot of schwas, a lot of us.
Be practical in schools, because it will teach children to be careful about their health and about their food and nutrition.
Okay.
Yeah.
What rules should children follow at home?
I think we'll make this the last question because I already feel like I have enough evidence to give her a mark. Let's see how she does with the last question.
Parents have their own policy in their room, and it depends on the personality of children most of the time. But there are some general rules that are, I think, useful for children at home. I
don't like the way she missed the D. Children.
Making them to tidy up their home, to do their personal.
Again, personal, missing that schwa. Personal, null, personal, null, annul, personal, personal. So she's pronouncing it as it's spoken. But okay, I think I will leave it there for the test. Now let's have a look at the score that I'll give her. Okay, so certainly not band 4. So candidate shows sometimes chunks or groups words together. No, she's higher than sometimes. She often does it. So Is she band 5 or is she band 6? Band 5 we know is all of the positive features of band 4 plus some but not all of the positive features of band 6. So basically if she gets everything good in band 6 then she's at least band 6. We know she's not band 7. If she doesn't get all of the ones in band 6, probably she's going to be band 5. Let's have a look. So most phoneme sounds are pronounced correctly. Most of them, yeah. There are noticeable individual phonemes and words that are sometimes mispronounced, but this rarely makes speech clear. So now I have to make the decision about rarely. It rarely makes speech unclear. Well, how many occasions? 4? Perhaps. And this now depends on how generous I feel. Next one. Some good chunking grouping, but there are some cases in which this speech sounds mechanical. I think she has very good chunking and grouping, no problems with that. Thirdly, the candidate sometimes uses intonation and stress effectively, but not in all parts of the test. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think she often makes good use of intonation and stress. Sometimes her stress is exaggerated, but in general, it's okay. And the listener doesn't have to work very hard to understand. Now again, I have to make this decision. Did I have to work very hard to understand? I would say no. I had to put in some work. If I look at number 4, the listener must work a little to understand. Yeah, band 4 must work a little to understand. Some pieces of speech cannot be understood. And then this one, the listener doesn't have to work very hard. So now it depends on what kind of a day I'm having. And I know it sounds awful, but examiners are humans. An examiner that's had a very, very good day, that's in a very, very good mood, maybe would say, yeah, her pronunciation is good enough for the 6. Maybe, that chunking deserves a good mark. Maybe the pleasant intonation deserves a good mark. And it doesn't matter that maybe I had to try a little bit too hard. And of course, I'm the type of person who's generally in his everyday life more or less quite positive. I would give her a 6 for this. So if I'm not sure, 5 or 6, 5 or 6, I try to be generous. So I'm between 5 and a 6, but I will give her 6 for pronunciation. Cool. So there is a section at the end where the examiner gives feedback, but I don't know if she gives feedback on pronunciation. So I just want to check that before we go. Let's see.
Mistakes in this case, pay attention to
a picture of their number.
Okay, so remember, I'm only interested in pronunciation here, so I hope the examiner gives some meaningful feedback on pronunciation, and I hope she gives a score for pronunciation, but let's see.
Well, I can see your speaking has been improved a lot, especially in terms of fluency and self-confidence. You can speak better than before.
I'm happy to hear that.
But unfortunately, I had to admit that your range of grammar is not good enough. You use simple form of grammar especially, or making complex structures like add attention to some idioms and expressions and phrasal verbs. Some mistakes in terms of a stressed syllable. That if you listen to collocations, it would be really, really helpful. And I have to say your pronunciation was good enough, but...
Please give details. I really, really don't like it when examiners say something was good. Now, I understand that the examiner here has a lot to do, right? She's being recorded. She has to maintain the conversation with the candidate and she has to take notes, and this can make it difficult to give meaningful feedback. But I don't like it when examiners say, I thought your pronunciation was good, without giving specific details. So if I was giving comments to this lady, I would say that the grouping and the chunking was very good. The way that she combines words together, so she doesn't pronounce each word incorrectly. I would also point out that her intonation is generally quite pleasant, quite nice, and there's a nice range of tones. Wonderful. Critical mistake, of course, is that sometimes there are patches of speech where I have to work hard to understand, and sometimes she pronounces words as they are written, and she has a couple of problems, especially with the phoneme w and v, wider, and also with her L's. She often drops them, actually. So I hope she gives this specific feedback. That's something that the candidate then can think, you know, I can work on this, I can improve this small thing.
Some mistakes in terms of a stressed syllable, that if you listen more carefully to some audio files, it would be really helpful too.
Okay, now I understand that she can go back through and she can watch this and try to find those mistakes, but it will be really useful if the examiner tells her where she has problems with stressed syllable. I guess she means in the pronunciation of individual words, so give her a list of words that she pronounced incorrectly.
By the way,
Nope.
In this case you got 6.5, but you are so close to 7, and I hope next time you can gain that.
I hope so. I will consider all of your advices. Thank you very much.
Okay, so she gave feedback. I didn't see all of the feedback, but you know, just a little bit of feedback on pronunciation and what she said. I don't think it's the most useful feedback for the candidate. But okay, so in general, I gave her 6. Her overall score was 6.5. I don't think her overall score was 6.5. Maybe a little lower, maybe 6.0 overall. But yeah, hopefully that gives you some understanding of what goes through an examiner's head when we just focus on pronunciation. Of course, if you have any questions or any comments, please do leave them in the comments section, but at the moment nobody is watching these YouTube videos. I am looking for volunteers, so if you would like to have an online free practice IELTS speaking test with me, with lots and lots of detailed feedback about your performance and a score, then feel free to get in touch. Okay. Thank you, and have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you may be.